Sorry about that, y'all. Another day of running late and just doing the most. Let's switch over our music to a chiller vibe. There we go. Howdy ho, you guys. Happy Friday. It's been a busy day for me since I was off in the morning. I tried to go get I did go get some groceries and cleaned out our fridge and all that stuff, and so made myself run a little late pushing it. But now we have a bunch of groceries. So I will be baking tonight after our stream and during our movie night tonight. I'm really excited about our movie night. Oh, there you go. I think it just said the wrong thing, though. I accidentally wrote the wrong book. My brain was like, Princess Diaries, haha. No. It's The Princess Bride, silly. I am powered by Rockstar Energy today. I found some of those Rockstar lemonades that are like quote-unquote sugar-free and 160 milligrams of caffeine. Trying to find affordable energy drinks is so rough, and I have coffee. I just kind of like, I have to be careful how consistently I drink coffee because my stomach will get angry with me and it's acidic. So I have to balance it, and finding these freaking yummy things at grocery outlet for like $2. That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, Squonk. Oh, and then I'm also going to be having a kombucha today. I got a bunch of these because they were on sale, and my stomach has been giving me a lot of problems, especially in the past week or two, so I'm going to try to see if this helps with me. I mean, I used to drink a lot more kombucha. It's just expensive. But, again, grocery outlet's a really great place to find things that are more expensive for a better price, including this pink lady apple kombucha. It's like one of my favorite ones. They also have a passion fruit. They have like lemon ginger. They've got a bunch of different ones, and this brand is really good. They're actually, I think, one of the ones that's actually good for you versus like the Synergy ones that are not really actually that good for you. There's a lot of sugar in them. Oh yeah, there's a Winco that we need to go to as well. Because yeah, that's a great deal. I was getting some of these. I mean, I got like a bunch of drinks, probably more than we actually needed. But I'm a girl that I like need I need a little drink. And grocery outlets are really great because they'll sell like little boxed teas for like $1.30. And then you can get a bunch of those. And that helps me not like drink as much caffeine or drink soda, because my boyfriend and I are addicted to soda. So yeah, but Winco is also another really great place that we should definitely check out. Yeah, it is. It's like you could find a bunch of random shit. You can find on-brand stuff, off-brand stuff, all kinds. They also have their Nosh section, which is entirely like vegan and gluten-free goods, which is so hard to find in normal stores. So they have some really great stuff. You just have to watch the expiration dates, especially on sale items, if they're like marked down. Usually, obviously, things are okay for a couple days after their best buy, but I'm a person who I get food poisoning like that. So I have to be really adamant about that. So yeah, I found like my favorite type of Cheez-Its that I can never really find anymore, and they were like comparably $3 or $4 less than they would have been just going to like a Safeway or a QFC. So highly, like, the plug, today's sponsor is Grocery Outlet. And we found like Gabe, has a hard time eating breakfast, and so do I. And like me as trying to do my wifely duties, not married yet, but you know what I'm saying, is I like to try to think of stuff that makes it really easy for him to eat breakfast, because I'm far too tuned to not eating enough food, and he does not do well when he doesn't have enough food, and he hasn't been eating a lot of breakfast lately because he's just been like trying to get it out the door. So I basically like, Trader Joe's is another great place. I will say that they are a little bit more expensive than grocery outlet, but they also have sometimes more specific things that you need too. So, but Trader Joe's is fucking fire. Some of their shit is so good. I forgot what I was saying. Oh well. Just kind of one of those days today. Oh, but yeah, like so I found him burritos, like the Monterey burritos, like breakfast burritos. And like that's so easy to just throw in the microwave or in the air fryer, get them all crispy and stuff on the outside, which is really nice. I'm really bad at eating breakfast too, so I have my own things that I do as well. Yet they had some of those too. They had like the microwavable cup ones that come with like real cheese, sausage, and an egg. They were 99 cents a piece. And those are usually like multiple dollars a piece. So I snagged up some of those too. Because anything that I can find to try to help Gabe get a better breakfast because he has to wake up so early. I want to do that. The earliest I work nowadays is like 9 a.m. So I have a bit more luxury in that. And he always, well, not always, but he sometimes pushes it to the very last minute. So even having something he can grab and take to work and microwave, like, yeah, ooh, that's smart for the quick, easy breakfast burrito filling. That's really smart. Good recommendation. Yeah, that's a great idea. Especially too if like you don't have time for doing stuff at work. And I love too, you can like add more seasoning if you want to or whatever. They're very malleable. Anyways, I was just happy to find some good groceries because, brother, the price of food nowadays is getting rough. How's the volume on the music? It looks like it might be a little too loud. I just turned it down just a teensy bit. I can hear it like level wise for the most part, but I have to. Volume's lovely. Perfect. Okay, cool. Cool. Good. Frito pie. No, but I've heard of it, and I literally just forgot about it. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, that's another like cheap yummy. I also found some pre-made like carnitas that you know you can obviously add more seasoning and stuff too. So I'm really excited about that because even just like we've been eating a lot of meals without even having like the most normal basic proteins in them, without meat essentially, because their meat is just too expensive. So it's like just trying to find stuff like that. That's a good idea, man. It's been a while since we've been just so tired. Just cooking up some spam real quick or something like that, you know, our little musubi bowls. All that good shit. Okay, let's get to reading because we had some I mean, honestly, this book has been so intense, but it's been awesome because it's like I just did not expect that level of intensity. So, trying to figure out where we were so I can recap. Oh god, so they had just fallen into the snow sand. Oh yeah, I don't like fish, so that's one of the biggest like drawbacks is like I wish. I like tuna, and tuna's okay, but I get burnt out on it if I eat too much. And I don't like salmon, I don't like halibut, I don't like cod, I don't like any fish besides tuna. And even tuna, sometimes it just wears me off, like wears on me. So it sucks because it really is a much like more affordable. You get the omegas from it. Like, it's a healthier protein in a bunch of different ways. I hope one day that changes for me, especially like with salmon or something, because salmon is so good. I know it is. I just don't like it. You know, it's just not really my thing. It's so mild, excellent for baking. Noted. Anything that tastes like fishy, I just don't. I don't do it. Even like just nori, like seaweed, tastes too much like the ocean. Can't do it. Okay. So where we recapped was that they were running through this crevasse. They're running through the fire swamp, and trying to get through that. And then they had fallen into what they called the snow sand, which was that like super fine sand that essentially is like snow powdery texture, and she was sinking in it. Wesley had dove after her, but he hadn't been able to, like, the rope that he had, or the vine that he had, wasn't long enough. Oh, hi, Wayne. Thanks for stopping through. Appreciate it. We appreciate you just dropping by, even if that's all you can do. It's good to see ya. And so, but then he was able somehow to pull them out, and essentially he just had to kick hard enough until they reached out and pull them both up, and he somehow did do that. So so failure was not a problem. He would simply have to kick, and when he had kicked hard enough, he would rise, and when he had risen enough, he would reach out for the vine, and when he reached out, it would be there. And when it was there, he would tie her to it, and with his last breath, he would pull them both up to life. Which is exactly what happened. She remained unconscious for a very long time. Wesley busied himself as best he could, cleansing the snow sand from ears and nose and mouth, and most delicate of all, from beneath the lids of her eyes. The length of her quietness disturbed him vaguely. It was almost as if she knew she had died and was afraid to find out for a fact that it was true. He held her in his arms and rocked her slowly. Eventually, she was blinking. Yeah, I'm just gonna say this now. In any other scenario, they would not have survived that. That was fucking crazy. Reading that, I was like, so the book's about to end. Damn. For a time, she looked around and around. We lived then, she managed finally. We're a hardy breed. What a wonderful surprise. No need, he was going to say, no need for worry, but her panic struck too quickly. It was a normal enough reaction, and he did not try to block it, but rather held her firmly and let the hysteria run its course. She shuddered for a time as if she fully intended to fly apart. But that was the worst. From there, it was but a few minutes of quiet sobbing. Then she was Buttercup again. Wesley stood, buckled on his sword, replaced his long knife. Come, he said, we have far to go. Not until you tell me, she replied. Why must we endure this? Now is not the time. Wesley held out his hand. It is the time. She stayed where she was, on the ground. Wesley sighed. She meant it. All right, he finally said, he said finally. I'll explain, but we must keep moving. Buttercup waited. We must get through the fire swamp, Wesley began, for one good and simple reason. Once he had started talking, Buttercup stood, following close behind him as he went on. I had always intended getting to the far side. I had not, I must admit, expected to go through. Around was my intention, but the ravine forced me to change. The good and simple reason, Buttercup prompted. On the far end of the fire swamp is the mount of Giant Eel Bay, and anchored far out in the deepest waters of that bay is the greatest ship, Revenge. The Revenge just burped, sorry. The revenge is the sole property of the dread pirate Roberts. The man who killed you, Buttercup said. That man, the one who broke my heart. The dread pirate Roberts took your life. That was the story I was told. Quite correct, Wesley said. And that ship is our destination. You know the dead pirate Roberts. You were friendly with such a man. I think it's a little more than that. Wesley said, I don't expect you to quite grasp this all at once. Just believe it's true. Hi, Taylor. Welcome in, girl. You see, I am the dread pirate Roberts. What? I fail to see how that is possible, since he has been marauding for 20 years and you only left me 3 years ago. I myself am often surprised at life's little quirks, Wesley admitted. Did he in fact capture you when you were sailing for the Carolinas? He did. His ship Revenge captured the ship I was on, the Queen's Pride. We were all to be put to death. But Roberts did not kill you. Clearly. Why? I cannot say for sure, but I think it is because I asked him please not to. Okay, I'm sure that's not the reason. He's a pirate. Pirates literally just kill you. They don't fucking care. Okay, sorry. I cannot say for sure, but I think it is because I asked him please not to. The please, I suspect, aroused his interest. I didn't beg or offer bribery, as the others were doing. At any rate, he held off with his sword long enough to ask, why should I make an exception of you? Man, the ad is going to start. So let's just run the ad real quick and have that get out of the way so that you guys don't miss any reading, because I'm going to try to pause during ads so that you guys don't miss anything. So we'll do a little dab ad break. Okay. 1 second, y'all. Let's run this bitch and get it out of the way. It's really annoying though that it forces so many ads. Like I turned it as far down as I possibly could, and it almost didn't change at all for how many ads. I think it still did go down for how many ads it's trying to run, but it's like not that different. You make can of butter and use it to make popcorn. 10 out of 10. Ooh, that's an idea, brother. Whoa, fucking smart thinking. I might do that tonight because I literally made can of butter last night. And I just, I put it in little starred... Here, I'll send a picture. Hold on. Put it in our weed thing. I'm really excited to watch 10 Things I Hate About You tonight, honestly. I put it in these little molds. So they're really cute little hearts and stars. And I'm going to make some cupcakes tonight, actually. So I might have to try that too. See, my favorite is him in Batman, but that might change today. That might change. He was really good in Knight's Tale too. That was a really good movie. That cracked me the fuck up. Ooh, those Trader Joe's chocolates or the caramels look really good. Wow. Boom. We're back. Dude, I go to Daiso for a lot of my molds because they have so many different good ones. So I highly recommend if you need silicone molds for candy making, butter making, all of that. So good. All right. So we were finding out What happened here? At any rate, he held off with his sword long enough to ask, "Why should I make an exception of you?" And I explained my mission, how I had to get to America to get money to reunite me with the most beautiful woman ever reared by man, namely you. "I doubt she is as beautiful as you imagine," he said, and he raised his sword again. "Hair the color of autumn," I said, "and skin like wintry cream." "Wintry cream, eh?" he said. He was interested now. At least a bit. So I went on describing the rest of you. And at the end, I knew I had him convinced of the truth of my affection for you. "I'll tell you, Wesley," he said, "I feel genuinely sorry about this, but if I make an exception in your case, news will get out that the dread pirate Roberts has gone soft, and that will mark the beginning of my downfall. For once they stop fearing you, piracy becomes nothing but work. Work all the time. And I am far too old for such a life. I swear I will never tell, not even my beloved," I said, "and if you will let me live, I will be your personal valet and slave for 5 full years. And if I ever once complain or cause you anger, you may chop my head off then and there, and I will die with praise for your fairness on my lips." I knew I had him thinking. "Go below," he said. "I'll most likely kill you tomorrow." Wesley stopped talking for a moment and pretended to clear his throat because he had spotted the first Rouse following behind them. There seemed no need yet to alert her, so he just continued to clear his throat and hurry along between the flame bursts. "What happened tomorrow?" Buttercup urged. "Go on." "Well, you know what an industrious fellow I am. You remember how I liked to learn and how I had already trained myself to work 20 hours a day. I decided to learn what I could about piracy in the time left allotted me, since it would at least keep my mind off of my coming slaughter. So I helped the cook and I cleaned the hold and, in general, did whatever was asked of me, hoping that my energies might be favorably noted by the dread pirate Roberts himself. "Well, I've come to kill you," he said the next morning. And I said, "Thank you for the extra time. It's been most fascinating. I've learned such a great deal." And he said, "Overnight? What could you learn in that time?" And I said, "That no one had ever explained to your cook the difference between table salt and cayenne pepper." "Things have been a bit fiery this trip," he admitted. "Go on, what else?" And I explained that there would have been more room in the hold if boxes had been stacked differently. And then he noticed I had completely reorganized things down there, and, fortunately for me, there was more room. And finally he said, "Very well, you can be my valet for a day. I've never had a valet before, so probably I won't like it, so I'll kill you in the morning." Every night for the next year, he always said something like that to me. "Thank you for everything, Wesley. Good night now. I'll probably kill you in the morning." Jesus. By the end of that year, of course, we were more than valet and master. He was a pudgy little man, not at all fierce, as you would expect the dread pirate Roberts to be, and I like to think he was fond of me as I of him. By then, I had learned really quite a great deal about sailing, and hand fighting, and fencing, and throwing the long knife, and had never been in as excellent physical condition. At the end of 1 year, my captain said to me, "Enough of this valet business, Wesley. From now on, you are my second in command." And I said, "Thank you, sir, but I could never be a pirate." And he said, "You want to get back to that autumn-haired creature of yours, don't you?" And I didn't even have to bother answering that. "A good year or two of piracy and you'll be rich and back you go." And I said, "Your men have been with you for years and they aren't rich," he said. "That's because they are not captain. I'm going to retire soon, Wesley, and the revenge will be yours." I must admit, beloved, I weakened a bit there, but we reached no final decision. Instead, he agreed to let me assist him in the next few captures and see how I liked it, which I did. There was now another Rouse following them, flanking them as they moved. Buttercup saw them now. "Wesley, shh, it's all right. I'm watching them. Shall I finish? Will it take your mind off them?" You helped him with the next few captures, Buttercup said, to see if you liked it. Wesley dodged a sudden burst of flame, shielded Buttercup from the heat. Not only did I like it, but it turned out I was talented as well. So talented that Robert said to me one April morning, "Wesley, the next ship is yours. Let's see how you do." That afternoon we spotted a fat Spanish beauty loaded for Madrid. I sailed up close. They were in a panic. "Who is it?" their captain cried. "Wesley," I told him. "Never heard of you," he answered, and with that they opened fire. This book is so funny. Like it's way more clever and silly than I thought, at the same time as being like witty, and I really enjoy it. Really quick, I need to use the restroom. I can feel that I need to pee, and it's bothering me, so I'm gonna go take care of it. I'll be right back. I'll wash my hands, don't worry. Let's get back to it. All right. They were in a panic. "Who is it?" their captain cried. "Wesley," I told him. "Never heard of you," he answered, and with that they opened fire. Disaster. They had no fear of me at all. I was so flustered I did everything wrong, and soon they got away. I was, do I have to add, disheartened. Roberts called me to his cabin. I slunk in like a whipped boy. "Buck up," he told me, and then he closed the door and we were quite alone. "What I am about to tell you I've never said before, and you must guard it closely." I of course said I would. "I'm not the dread pirate Roberts," he said. "My name is Ryan." My name is Brian. This is so goofy. I inherited this ship from the I inherited this ship from the previous dread pirate Roberts, just as you will inherit it from me. The man I inherited from was not the real dread pirate Roberts either. His name was Cumberbund. The real original dread pirate Roberts has been retired 15 years and has been living like a king in Patagonia. I confessed my confusion. "It's really very simple," Ryan explained. Now he's Ryan, forever. After several years, the original Roberts was so rich he wanted to retire. Clooney was his friend and first mate, so he gave the ship to Clooney, who had an identical experience to yours. The first ship he attempted to board nearly blew him out of the water. So Roberts, realizing the name was the thing that inspired the necessary fear, sailed the Revenge to port, changed crews entirely, and Clooney told everyone he was the dread pirate Roberts, and who was to know he was not? When Clooney retired rich, he passed the name to Cumberbund, and Cumberbund to me, and I, Felix Raymond Ryan of Boodle, outside Liverpool, now dubbed thee, Wesley, the dread pirate Roberts. All we need is to land, take on some new young pirates. I will sail along for a few days as Ryan, your first mate, and will tell everyone about my years with you, the dread pirate Roberts. Then you will let me off when they're all believers, and the waters of the world are yours." Wesley smiled at Buttercup. "So now you know, and you should also realize why it is foolish to be afraid." "But I am afraid." It will all be happy at the end. Consider, a little over 3 years ago you were a milkmaid, and I was a farm boy. Now you are almost a queen, and I rule uncontested on the water. Surely such individuals were never intended to die in a fire swamp. How can you be so sure? Well, because we're together, hand in hand, in love. "Oh yes," Buttercup said. "I keep forgetting that." Both her words and her tone were a trifle standoffish, something Wesley surely would have noticed had not a rouse attacked him from the tree branch, sinking its giant teeth into his unprotected shoulder, forcing him to earth in a very unexpected spurt of blood. Ew. The other two that had been following launched their attack then too, ignoring Buttercup, driving forward with all their hungry strength towards Wesley's bleeding shoulder. Any discussion of the rouse, also apparently now we're finally getting the definition of what this means. Rodents of unusual size must begin with the South American capybara, which has been known to reach a weight of 150 pounds. They are nothing but water hogs, however, and present very little danger. The largest pure rat is probably the Tasmanian, which has actually been weighed at 100 pounds, but they have little agility, tending to sloth when they reach full growth, and most Tasmanian herdsmen have learned with ease to avoid them. The fire swamp rodent of unusual size were a pure rat strain, weighed usually 80 pounds, and had the speed of wolfhounds. They were also carnivorous and capable of frenzy. Jesus. These rats struggled with each other to reach Wesley's wound. Their enormous front teeth tore at the unprotected flesh of his left shoulder, and he had no idea if Buttercup was already half devoured. He only knew that if he didn't do something desperate right then and there, she soon would be. So he intentionally rolled his body into a spurt of flame. His clothes began to burn. That he expected, but more important, the rats sheed away from him the heat and the flames for just an instant, but that was enough for him to reach and throw his long knife into the heart of the nearest beast. The other two turned instantly on their own kind and began eating it while it was still screaming. Jesus. Trigger warning. Ugh. Wesley had his sword by then, and with 2 quick thrusts, the trio of rats was disposed of. "Hurry," he shouted to Buttercup, who stood frozen where she had been when the first rat landed. "Bandages, bandages," Wesley cried. "Make me some bandages, or we die." And with that, he rolled onto the ground, tore off his burning clothes, and set work caking mud onto the deep wound in his shoulder. They're like sharks, blood creatures. It's blood they thrive on. Ew. He smeared more and more mud into his wound. I don't know if that was a good idea, Wesley. "We must stop my bleeding and must cover the wound so they do not smell it. If they don't smell the blood, we'll survive. If they do, we're for it. So help me, please." Buttercup ripped her clothes into patches and ties, and they worked at the wound, caking the blood with mud from the floor of the fire swamp, then bandaging and rebandaging over it. Ew. "We'll know soon enough," Wesley said, because 2 more rats were watching them. Wesley stood, sword in hand. "If they charge, they smell it," he whispered. The giant rats stood watching. "Come," Wesley whispered. 2 more giant rats joined the first pair. Without warning, Wesley's sword flashed, and the nearest rat was bleeding. The other 3 contented themselves with that for a while. Wesley took Buttercup's hand again and started to move. "How bad are you?" she said. "I'm in something close to agony, but we can talk about that later. Hurry now." They hurried. They had been in the fire swamp for 1 hour, and it turned out to be the easiest one they had of the 6 it took to cross it. But they crossed it, alive and together, hand very much in hand. It was nearly dusk when they at last saw the great ship Revenge far out in the deepest part of the bay. Wesley, still within the confines of the fire swamp, sank, beaten, to his knees. For between him and his ship were more than a few inconveniences. From the north sailed in half the great armada. From the south, the other half. 100 mounted horsemen, armored and armed. In front of them, the Count. And out alone in front of all, the 4 whites with the prince astride the leader. Wesley stood. We took too long in crossing. The fault is mine. I accept your surrender, the prince said. Wesley held Buttercup's hand. No one is surrendering, he said. You're acting silly now, the prince replied. I credit you with bravery. Don't make yourself a fool. What is so foolish about winning? Damn. Wesley wanted to know. It's my opinion that in order to capture us, you will have to come into the fire swamp. We have spent many hours here now. We know where the snow sand waits. I doubt that you or your men will be any too anxious to follow us in here. And by morning we will have slipped away. I doubt that somehow, said the prince, and he gestured out to sea. Half the armada had begun to chase to the great ship, Revenge, and the Revenge alone was sailing, as it had to do, away. Surrender, the prince said. It will not happen. Surrender, the prince shouted. Death first, Wesley roared. Will you promise not to hurt him? Buttercup whispered. What was that? The prince said. What was that? Wesley said. Buttercup took a step forward and said, If we surrender freely and without struggle, if life returns to what it once was one dusk ago, will you swear not to hurt this man? Prince Humperdinck raised his right hand. I swear on the grave of my soon-to-be dead father and the soul of my already dead mother that I shall not hurt this man. And if I do, may I never hunt again, though I have lived 1,000 years. Buttercup turned to Wesley. There, she said. You can't ask for more than that, and that is the truth. The truth, said Wesley, is that you would rather live with your prince than die with your love. Phew. I would rather live than die, I admit it. We were talking of love, madam. There was a long pause. Then Buttercup said it. I can live without love. Oh, emotional damage. Yikes, bro. And with that, she left Wesley alone. Ooh. Prince Humperdinck watched her as she began the long cross to him. When we are out of sight, he said to Count Rugen, take that man in black and put him in the 5th level of the Zoo of Death. Oh, fuck. Come on. The Count nodded. For a moment, I believed you when you swore. I spoke truth, I never lie, the prince replied. I said I would not hurt him, but I never for a moment said he would not suffer pain. You will do the actual tormenting. I will only spectate. He opened his arms, then for his princess. He belongs to the ship Revenge. Oh, God. Buttercup said. He is, she began, about to tell Wesley's story, but that was not for her to repeat. Thank fucking God you used some common sense, Buttercup. God damn. A simple sailor, and I have known him since I was a child. Will you arrange that? Must I swear again? No need, Buttercup said, because she knew, as did everyone, that the prince was more forthright than any Florinese. God. Come along, my princess. He took her hand. Buttercup went away with him. Wesley watched it all. He stood silently at the edge of the fire swamp. It was darker now, but the flame spurts behind him outlined his face. He was glazed with fatigue. He had been bitten, cut, gone without rest, had assaulted the cliffs of insanity, had saved and taken lives. He had risked his world, and now it was walking away from him, hand in hand with the ruffian prince. Then Buttercup was gone, out of sight. Wesley took a breath. He was aware of the score of soldiers starting to surround him, and probably he could have made a few of them perspire for their victory. But for what point? Wesley sagged. Come, sir. Count Rugen approached. We must get you safely to your ship. We are both men of action, Wesley replied. Lies do not become us. Well spoken, said the Count, and with one sudden swing he clubbed Wesley into insensitivity. Wesley fell like a beaten stone, his last conscious thought being of the Count's right hand. It was six-fingered, and Wesley could never quite remember having encountered that deformity before. Ooh-wee! Holy shit. Whoa, we just finally finished chapter 5, y'all. That was a really long chapter. Whoa. Like literally multiple episodes. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really pissed off that Buttercup just absolutely was like, nah, I can't handle this. I'd rather live without love. Bye. That's crazy. Like, what? What? You guys, I'm so angry. What the fuck? Like, I can't wrap my head around this, and now he's gonna get tortured until he dies? And she just won't know because she thinks that the prince is such a good guy, which is insane. Also insane, like, Buttercup, what are you actually thinking, you fucking psycho? I don't like her. He literally saved her life. What the hell? Really quick, I need to go look in my kitchen to see if we have something that we need for our dinner, because it's bothering me that I don't know if we have it, and I don't want to tell Gabe to pick it up too late. So I will literally be, again, right back. We do have what we need. Yay! At least something's working out, because I'm still fucking mad right now, you guys. Like, I know I need to keep reading, but I am just so... I need to stop and smoke for a second, because I'm genuinely angry for Wesley. He's gone so far to survive and rescue her. He climbed 1,000-foot cliffside with no rope, and she just dropped his ass. That hurts me. Like, I can't believe this. Like, what is the ending of this gonna be? He better, if he takes her back, it's like, man, you're getting played like a fucking fiddle. This bitch literally just went, nah, I can live without it. I can live without love, actually. Only if you promise this person that I very falsely trust. What? Fucking what? Like, this makes me want to rage quit. Good Lord. Okay, so for chapter 6, we are having a little bit of a note from the author of kind of a fast forward of scenes of, like, we're kind of skipping over the yada yada. So, chapter 6. The festivities. I can't believe she's gonna marry this asshole. She's an asshole for this. God. This is one of those chapters again where Professor Bongiorno of Columbia, the Florinese guru, claims that Morgenstern's satiric genius is at its fullest flower. That's the way this guy talks. Fullest flower, delicious drolleries, on and on. This festivities chapter is mostly detailed descriptions of, guess what? Bingo, the festivities. It's like 89 days till the nuptials, and every high muckamuck in Florin has to give a due for the couple. And what Morgenstern fills his pages with is how the various richies of the time entertained. What kind of parties, what kind of food, who did the decorations, how did the seating arrangements get settled, all that kind of thing. The only interesting part, but it's not worth going through 44 pages for, is that Prince Humperdinck gets more and more interested and mannerly towards Buttercup, cutting down even a little on his hunting activities. And, more important, because of the foiling of the kidnapping attempt, 3 things happen. Number 1, everyone is pretty well convinced that the plot was engineered by Gilder, so the relations between the countries are more than a little strained. 2, Buttercup is just adored by everybody because the rumors are all over that she acted very brave and even came through the fire swamp alive. And 3, Prince Humperdinck is at last in his own land a hero. He was never popular, what with his hunting fetish and leaving the country to kind of rot once his old man got senile. But the way he foiled the kidnapping made everybody realize that this was some brave fella, and they were lucky to have him next in line to lead them. Anyhow, these 44 pages cover just about the first month of party giving, and it's not till the end of that for my money, things get going again. Buttercup is in bed, pooped. It's late, the end of another long party, and as she waits for sleep, she wonders what sea Wesley is riding on, and the giant, and the Spaniard, whatever happened to them. So eventually, in 3 quick flashbacks, Morgenstern returns to what I think is the story. When Inigo regained consciousness, it was still night on the cliffs of Insanity. Far below, the waters of Florin Channel pounded. Inigo stirred, blinked, and tried to rub his eyes, but he couldn't. His arms were tied together around a tree. Inigo blinked again, banishing cobwebs. He had gone on his knees to the man in black, ready for death. Clearly the victor had other notions. Inigo looked around as best he could, and there it was, the 6-fingered sword, glittering in the moonlight like lost magic. Inigo stretched his right leg as far as it would go and managed to touch the handle. Then it was simply a matter of inching the weapon close enough to be graspable by one hand, and then it was an even simpler task to slash his bindings. He was dizzy when he stood, and he rubbed his head behind his ear, where the man in black had struck him. A lump, sizable to be sure, but not a major problem. The major problem was what to do now. Vizzini had struck strict instructions for occasions such as this. When a plan went wrong, go back to the beginning. Back to the beginning and wait for Vizzini, then regroup, replan, start again. Inigo had even made a little rhyme out of it for Fezzik, so the giant would not have problems remembering what to do in time of trouble. Fool, fool, back to the beginning is the rule. Inigo knew precisely where the beginning was. They had gotten the job in Florin City itself, the thieves' quarter. Vizzini had made the arrangements alone, as he always did. He had met with their employer, had accepted the job, had planned it all in the thieves' quarter, so the thieves' quarter was clearly the place to go. Only, Inigo hated it there. Everybody was so dangerous, big, mean, and muscular. And so what if he was the greatest fencer in the world? Who'd know it to look at him? He looked like a skinny Spanish guy it might be fun to rob. You couldn't walk around with a sign saying, "Be careful, this is the greatest fencer since the death of the wizard of Corsica. Do not burgle." Besides, and here Inigo felt deep pain. He wasn't that great a fencer, not anymore. He couldn't be. Hadn't he just been beaten? Once, true, he had been a titan, but now. Okay, and this is a note again from the author. Okay. What happens... Oh, there you go. What happens here that you aren't going to read is the 6-page soliloquy from Inigo in which Morgenstern, through Inigo, reflects on the anguish of fleeting glory. The reason for the soliloquy here is that Morgenstern's previous book had gotten bombed by the critics and also hadn't sold beans. What? Aside, did you know that Robert Browning's first book of poems didn't sell 1 copy? True. Even his mother didn't buy it at her local bookstore. Have you ever heard of anything more humiliating? How would you like to have been Browning and it's your first book and you have these secret hopes that now you'll be somebody, established, important, and you give it a week before you ask the publisher how things are going because you don't want to seem pushy or anything. And then maybe you drop by, and it was probably all very English and understated in those days. And you're Browning and you chit-chat around a bit before you drop the biggie. "Oh, by the way, any notions yet on how my poems might be doing?" And then his editor, who has been dreading this moment, probably says, "Well, you know how it is with poetry these days. Nothing's taking off like it used to. Requires a bit of time for the word to get around." And then finally, somebody had to say it. "None, Bob. Sorry, Bob. No, we haven't yet had one authenticated sale. We thought for a bit that Hatchard's had a potential buyer down by Piccadilly, but it didn't quite work out. Sorry, Bob. Of course we'll keep you posted in the event of a breakthrough." End of aside. Anyway, Inigo finishes his speech to the cliffs and spends the next few hours finding a fisherman who sails him back to Florence City. The thieves' quarter was worse than he remembered, always before Fezzik had been with him, and they made rhymes and Fezzik was enough to keep any thief away. Inigo moved panic up the dark streets, desperately afraid. Why this giant fear? What was he afraid of? He sat on a filthy stoop and pondered. Around him there were cries in the night, and from the alehouses, vulgar laughter. He was afraid, he realized then, because he sat there, gripping the 6-fingered sword for confidence. He was suddenly back to what he had been before Vizzini had found him. A failure. A man without point, with no attachment to tomorrow. Inigo had not touched brandy in years. Now he felt his fingers fumbling for money. Now he heard his footsteps running toward the nearest alehouse. Now he saw his money on the counter. Now he felt the brandy bottle in his hands. Back to the stoop he ran. He opened the bottle. He smelled the rough brandy. He took a sip. He coughed. He took a swallow. He coughed again. He gulped it down and coughed and gulped some more and half began a smile. His fears were starting to leave him. After all, why should he have ever been afraid? He was Inigo Montoya. The bottle was half gone now. Son of the great Domingo Montoya. So what was there in the world worth fearing? Now all the brandy was gone. How dare fear approach a wizard such as Inigo Montoya? Well, never again. Into the second bottle. Never, 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 never again. He sat alone and confident and strong. His life was straight and fine. He had money, enough for brandy, and if you had that, you had the world. The stoop was wretched and bleak. Inigo slumped there, quite contented, clutching the bottle in his once trembling hands. Existence was really very simple when you did what you were told. and nothing could be simpler or better than what he had in store. All he had to do was wait and drink until Vizzini came. ... Fezzik had no idea how long he was unconscious. He only knew, as he staggered to his feet on the mountain path, that his throat was very sore where the man in black had strangled him. What to do? The plans had gone all wrong. Fezzik closed his eyes, trying to think. There was a proper place to go when plans went wrong, but he couldn't quite remember it. Inigo had even made up a rhyme for him so he wouldn't forget. And now, even with that, he was so stupid he had forgotten. What? Was that it? Was it stupid, go and wait for Vizzini with Cupid? That rhymed, but where was the Cupid? Dummy, dummy, go out now and fill your tummy. That rhymed too, but what kind of instructions were those? What to do, what to do. Oh my god. Dunce, use your brains and do it right for once. No help. Nothing was any help. He never had done anything right, not in his whole life, until Vizzini came. And without another thought, Fezzik ran off into the night after the Sicilian. Vizzini was napping when he got there. Yikes. He had been drinking wine and dozed off. Fezzik dropped to his knees and put his hands in prayer position. Vizzini, I'm sorry, he began. Vizzini napped on. Fezzik shook him gently. Vizzini did not wake. Not so gently this time. Nothing. Oh, I see. You're dead, Fezzik said. He stood up. He's dead, Vizzini is, he said softly. And then, with not a bit of help from his brain, a great scream of panic burst from his throat into the night. Inigo! And he whirled back down the mountain path. Because if Inigo was alive, it would be all right. It wouldn't be the same, no. It could never be that without Vizzini to order them and insult them as only he could. But at least there would be time for poetry. And when Fezzik reached the cliffs of insanity, he said, Inigo, Inigo, here I am, to the rocks. And I'm here, Inigo, it's your Fezzik, to the trees. And Inigo, Inigo, answer me, please. All over until there was no other conclusion to draw, but that just as there was no Vizzini, so there was also no Inigo, and that was hard. Yeah, I'm doing a book club. We do it on Monday and Fridays. We're reading The Princess Bride right now. It was, in point of fact, too hard for Fezzik, so he began to run, crying out, "Be with you in a minute, Inigo," and "Right behind you, Inigo," and "Hey, Inigo, wait up," in parentheses. Wait up, straight up, which was the way he ran, and wouldn't there be fun with rhymes once he and Inigo were together again. But after an hour or so of shouting, his throat gave out because he had, after all, been strangled almost to death in the very recent past. On he ran, on and on and on, until finally he reached a tiny village and found, just outside of town, some nice rocks that formed kind of a cave, almost big enough for him to stretch out in. He sat with his big back against a rock and his hands around his knees and his throat hurting until the village boys found him. They held their breath and crept up as close as they dared. Fezzik hoped they would go away, so he froze, pretending to be off with Inigo. And Inigo would say barrel, and Fezzik right quick would come back and say carol. And maybe they would sing a little something until Inigo said serenade. And you couldn't stump Fezzik with one that easy because of centigrade. And then Inigo would make a word about the weather, and Fezzik would rhyme it, and that was how it went until the village boys stopped being afraid of him. Fezzik could tell that because they were creeping very close to him now, and all of a sudden yelling their lungs out and making crazy faces. He didn't really blame them. He looked like the kind of person you did that to, mocked. That's so sad. His clothes were torn and his throat was gone and his eyes were wild, and he probably would have yelled too if he'd been their age. It was only when they found him funny that he found it, though he did not know the word. Degrading. No more yelling, just laughter now. Laughter, Fezzik thought. And then he thought giraffeter, because that's all he was to them. Some huge funny thing that couldn't make much noise. Laughter, giraffeter, from now to hereafter. God, his rhyming thing is crazy. Fezzik huddled up in his cave and tried looking on the bright side. At least they weren't throwing things at him. Not yet, anyway. Wesley awoke chained in a giant cage. His shoulder was beginning to fester from the gnawing and digging that the rodents of unusual sizes had done to his flesh. He ignored his discomfort momentarily to try and adjust to his surroundings. He was certainly underground. It was not the lack of windows that made that, sure, more the dankness. From somewhere above him now he could hear animal sounds. An occasional lion roar, the yelp of the cheetah. Shortly after his return to consciousness, the albino appeared, bloodless, with skin as pale as dying birch. Jesus. The candlelight that served to illuminate the cage made the albino seem totally like a creature who had never seen the sun. The albino held a tray which carried many things, bandages and food, healing powders, and brandy. "Where are we?" from Wesley. A shrug from the albino. "Who are you?" Shrug. That was almost the entire extent of this fellow's conversation. Wesley asked question after question while the albino tended and redressed his wound, then fed him food that was warm and surprisingly good and plentiful. Shrug. Shrug. "Who knows I'm here?" Shrug. "Lie, but tell me something. Give an answer. Who knows I'm here?" Whispered. "I know. They know." "They?" Shrug. "The prince and the count, you mean?" Nod. "And that is all?" Nod. "When I was brought in, I was half conscious. The count was giving the orders, but 3 soldiers were carrying me. They know too." Shake. Whispered. Knew. "They're dead. That's what you're saying." Shrug. "Am I to die then?" Shrug. "Yo, 3-stream streak! Thank you, Golden Dog. I appreciate it so much. Really, you guys are awesome. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for the streaks." Wesley lay back on the floor of the giant underground cage, watching as the albino silently reloaded the tray, glided from sight. If the soldiers were dead, surely it was not unreasonable to assume that he would eventually follow. But if they wanted his erasure, surely it was also not unreasonable to assume that they had not the least intention of doing it immediately. Else why tend his wounds? Why return his strength with good warm food? No, his death would be a while yet. But in the meantime, considering the personalities of his captors, it was finally not unreasonable to assume that they would do their best to make him suffer. Greatly. Wesley closed his eyes. There was pain coming, and he had to be ready for it. He had to prepare his brain. He had to get his mind controlled and safe from their efforts so that they could not break him. He would not let them break him. He would hold together against anything and all. If only they gave him a sufficient time to make ready, he knew he could defeat pain. It turned out they gave him sufficient time. In parentheses, it was months before the machine was ready. But they broke him anyway. The machine? The hell does that mean? Ew. Like, what? I need to take a drink of my kombucha. Man, Buttercup really put Wesley in a very bad position. And all because she selfishly just didn't want to have to deal with having to try to survive and wanted to live. didn't need love, apparently. What the fuck? I think that Buttercup might be a sociopath, honestly. I mean, it's crazy. The man climbed a 1,000-foot cliff, defeated 3 different people, fell, like, came and got her, fell down a fucking crevasse, and then still led them through a fire swamp where he was attacked by massive rats and bit, and his flesh was revealed and shit. And you just jumped him right there and said, well, you have to keep him alive. And she's like, yay, my psychopathic lover's back. You promise you won't hurt him? He's like, yeah, I promise. Psych. She's so dumb for that. And like, what is she? And she thinks that he's just free? Like, she's so naive. Like, of course he wouldn't actually, because he defeated so many people and things to already get to you. He could probably defeat a lot more to find you again. God. I'm so annoyed with Buttercup, you guys. She literally has she just fucking threw such a wrench into what was happening. And I feel so bad for Wesley. Like, I'm surprised he's not dealing with more heartbreak in this moment. Truly, like, he must still be Delulu and be like, oh, I love her or something, because this would be my villain arc. This would be my villain arc, 100%. Okay. Man, and we just got started. We just got started with chapter 6. Like, that's crazy. Okay. And what is the machine? What is this machine that they're gonna use to break him? Like, this has me stressed out. I need to smoke more weed real quick. Bro, when he started shoving mud into his wound too, like, I know they was just trying to cover it, but like, I would have gone up and started ripping her dress. I wouldn't even ask. I would be like, yeah, no, I'm using your fucking shit for my wounds. The fact that he's not gonna get a massive infection from that is so unrealistic. Obviously, there's a lot about this that is unrealistic. It's a book. It's a fairy tale type thing, but I'm just like, and that's where we're skipping shit? Infection? Like, what? Oh, God. We're also going to be having movie night, Golden Dog, if you want to join for movie night after this at 5. We're going to be watching 10 Things I Hate About You with Heath Ledger in the Discord server. So, but yeah, my God, Buttercup's a bitch. I'm sorry, I keep calling her names and shit, but I'm like, girl, you are such a, like, stupid, immature, selfish a-hole. And she was like so mean to him for so long, you know? And all he did was like follow her orders. I know, like, Buttercup, what are you doing? This is the behavior of a very spoiled brat. Mind you, she only started caring about bathing when she started to fall in love with Wesley. Where's Horse? You know, I have a lot of questions. Sorry, I'm like really tearing this shit apart, but it's like, God! Grr. Okay. Fuck. At the end of the 13th... Oh, nope. Let's start over. I'm gonna burp too. Oh my god. Okay. At the end of the 30th day of festivities, with 60 days more of partying to enjoy, oh my god, Buttercup was genuinely concerned that she might lack the strength to endure. Smile, smile, hold hands, bow and thank, over and over. She was simply exhausted from 1 month. How was she to survive twice that? Oh, poor you. Sorry. It turned out that because of the king's health, to be both easy and sad. For with 55 days to go, Lothron began to weaken terribly. Prince Humperdinck ordered new doctors brought in. There was still the last miracle man alive, Max, but since they had fired him long before, bringing him back on the case now was simply not deemed wise. If he was incompetent then, when Lothron was only desperately ill, how could he suddenly be a cure-all now, with Lothron dying? The new doctors all agreed on various tried-and-true medications, and within 48 hours of their coming on the case, the king was dead. Whoa. The wedding date, of course, was unchanged. It wasn't every day a country had a 500th anniversary, but all the festivities were either curtailed entirely or vastly cut down. Prince Humperdinck became 45 days before the wedding, King of Florin. And that changed everything because before he had taken nothing but his hunting seriously. And now he had to learn everything, learn to run a country, and he buried himself in books and wise men. And how did you tax this? And when should you tax that? And foreign entanglements. And who could be trusted and how far and with what? Oh my god. You didn't do any of this research before your dad died and you had to become the king? What a fucking idiot. And before her lovely eyes, Humperdinck changed from a man of fear and action to one of frenzied wisdom, because he had to get it all straight now, before any other country dared interfere with the future of Florin. So the wedding, when it actually took place, was a tiny thing and brief, sandwiched in between a minister's meeting and a treasury crisis. And Buttercup spent her first afternoon as queen, wandering around the castle not knowing what in the world to do with herself. Jesus. It wasn't until King Humperdinck walked out on the balcony with her to greet the gigantic throng that had spent the day in patient waiting that she realized it had happened. She was the queen. Her life, for whatever it was worth, belonged now to the people. They stood together on the castle balcony, accepting the cheers, the cries, the endless thunderous hip-hips, until Buttercup said, "Please, may I walk once more amongst them?" And the king said with a nod that she might, and down she went again, as on the day of the wedding announcement, radiant and alone. And again the people swept apart to let her pass, weeping and cheering and bowing. And then one person booed. On the balcony watching it all, Humperdinck reacted instantly, gesturing soldiers into the area where the sound had come from, dispatching more troops quickly down to surround the queen. And like clockwork, Buttercup was safe, the booer apprehended, and led away. "Hold a moment," Buttercup said, still shaken by the unexpectedness of what happened. The soldier who held the booer stopped. "Bring her to me," Buttercup said, and in a moment the booer was right there, eye to eye. It was an ancient woman, withered and bent, and Buttercup thought of all the faces that had gone by in her lifetime, but this one she could not remember. "Have we met?" the queen asked. The old one shook her head. "Then why? Why on this day? Why do you insult the queen?" "Because you are not worthy of cheers," the old woman said, and suddenly she was yelling. Whoa. "You had love in your hands and you gave it up for gold." She turned to the crowd. It is true what I tell you. There was love alongside her in the fire swamp, and she dropped it from her fingers like garbage. And that is what she is. The queen of garbage. Hell yeah. Looks like she's finally getting her shit. I had given my word to the prince, Buttercup began, but the old woman would not be quieted. Ask her how she got through the fire swamp. Ask her if she did it alone. She threw love away to be the queen of grime, the queen of muck. I am old and life means nothing to me, so I am the only person in all this crowd to dare to tell the truth. And truth says bow to the queen of feculence if you want to, but not I. Cheer the queen of slime and ordure if you want to, but not I. Rave over the beauty of queen of cesspools, but not I. Not I! She was advancing on Buttercup now. Hell yeah. Take her away, Buttercup ordered. But the soldiers could not stop her, and the old woman kept coming on, her voice getting louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder, and Buttercup woke up screaming. She was in her bed, alone, safe. The wedding was still 60 days away, but her nightmares had begun. The next night, she dreamed of giving birth to their first child, and... Okay, now the fucking author's interrupting again. Interruption, and hey, how about giving Old Morganton credit for a major league fake out there? No, I'm actually just annoyed. I mean, didn't you think for a while at least they really were married? I did. It's one of my biggest memories of my father reading. I had pneumonia, remember, but I was a little better now and madly caught up in the book. And one thing you know when you're 10 is that no matter what, there's gonna be a happy ending. They can sweat all they want to scare you, the authors. But back of it, all you know, you just have no doubt that in the long run, justice is going to win out. And Wesley and Buttercup, well, they had their troubles, sure, but they were going to get married and live happily ever after. I would have bet the family fortune if I had found a sucker big enough to take me on. Oh my god. This is so annoying. I don't really appreciate the writers, need to interject and just start talking about themselves about how they were, sick and their dad read to them. I just don't understand what it's supposed to add for the story. I get that it's supposed to be breaking the fourth wall, and they're like, you're probably wondering how I got here, but I don't appreciate it in the format of reading, because I think it just is really distracting from the story. And it's like, okay, cool, we got faked out, we could have just gone on to the next bit. And it's like, now she's talking about how her dad's a fucking barber, and he was supposed to read to her and that all this shit. And I'm just like, what? Yeah, it's just, okay, cool. You were a child and you think that things are supposed to have happy endings. I don't want to sound very irritable, but it's let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 6 pages of just rambling about yourself and wondering what's gonna happen next. That's a lot of pages for me to skip through, and it literally just says, okay, enough, back to the text, nightmare time. It's shut up, you know that you're interrupting the book, so why? I don't know. I feel you could have you could have written the book without this and then had a version that had the cliff notes in it, because I don't fucking care. Sorry, but I want to know what happens next. Hello? I probably sound rude, but it's one thing when it's just a paragraph or two and you're oh, haha, funny, and then you keep reading. But it's when it's 6 pages. One of them was a whole chapter. I'd rather have just actually read the book than have you say, oh, you know, like, I when someone explains, like, oh, well, it's just like they're saying that this, like, there was no actual version of this, but they're saying, like, oh, this person wrote this. I just don't really understand what that brings to the book, besides distraction from the book itself. And also just being like, oh, we don't want to explain this to you. It would have taken 60 pages. It's like, okay. Sorry, it just annoys me. It's kind of a weird thing. Because the book itself, yeah, it's taking away from the story. Exactly. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. So yeah, basically, it's just strange because I've seen like footnote versions, and I don't really get what this is supposed to, bring. It's just like distracting, and the book itself is like well written, so I just have to like stop and take a second. Yeah, like why are we not taking the time to explain this stuff? Why are we acting like it's like, oh, we're just getting rid of the fluff for you and just completely like chopping bits up? And it's just so strange. So I think that's my only gripe with this book right now, because of course, like, I don't like what Buttercup's doing, etc., but this is what makes a book interesting, right? What doesn't make it interesting is when the writer interjects and starts blabbling about themselves and making these fake reality stories that don't have anything to do with the actual story, really. They're just like, oh, we could have told you about this. And you're like, why didn't you? Are you lazy? What is this? Anyways. So strange. Anyways, okay. Back to the text. Thank you guys for validation, because I'm like, I'm not trying to be grumpy, but it's like the amount of this that I've had to skip, and I just like have ignored to try to keep the story flowing for you guys properly. I'm at a point in the book, page 300, where I'm like, hey, I'm kind of over this bullshit. Yeah, the editor, no author, is being a tad silly indeed. Yes, because it's like one thing when the narrator pops in, right? You know, whatever, but yeah. So, even like the cutoff of that one bit cut off in the middle of a sentence. So the sentence didn't even get finished, and that like doesn't even make sense to me either. It doesn't look like interesting. The next night, she dreamed of giving birth to their first child, and it was a girl, a beautiful little girl. And Buttercup said, I'm sorry it wasn't a boy. I know you need an heir. And Humperdinck said, beloved sweet, don't concern yourself with that. Just look at the glorious child God has given us. Like, there are books with unreliable narrator trope, but this book doesn't seem like that type. Agreed. Yeah, 100%. No, this is just like making someone fucking, like, this is just distracting. It's like a narcissist interjecting in the middle of this. Oh, by the way, this is what I was feeling when I was 10 when I read this book. What? That's not any like, huh? Yeah. Beloved sweet, don't concern yourself with that. Just look at the glorious child God has given us. And then he left, and Buttercup held the child to her perfect breast. And the child said, your milk is sour. And Buttercup said, oh, I'm sorry. And she shifted the infant to the other breast. And the child said, no, this is sour too. And Buttercup said, I don't know what to do. And the baby said, you always know what to do. You always know exactly what to do. You always do exactly what's right for you, and the rest of the world can go hang. What? A newborn baby? What? And Buttercup said, "You mean Wesley?" And the baby said, "Of course I mean Wesley." And Buttercup explained patiently, "I thought he was dead, you see. I'd given my word to your father." And the baby said, "I'm dying now. There's no love in your milk. Your milk has killed me." And then the child stiffened and cracked and turned in Buttercup's hands to nothing but dry dust. And Buttercup screamed and screamed and screamed. Even when she was awake again, with 59 days to go till her marriage, she was still screaming. The baby said, "This baby be speaking. It's like from Twilight." With that fucking ugly ass baby talking, being born and being like, "What's up, fools?" Anyways. The third nightmare came quickly. The following evening, and again it was a baby. This time a son, a marvelous strong boy. And Humperdinck said, "Beloved, it's a boy." And Buttercup said, I didn't fail you, thank heavens." And then he was gone, and Buttercup called out, "May I see my son now?" And all the doctors scurried around outside her royal room, but the boy was not brought in. "What seems to be the trouble?" Buttercup called out. And the chief doctor said, "I don't quite understand, but he doesn't want to see you." And Buttercup said, "Tell him I am his mother, and I am the queen, and I command his presence." And then he was there, just as handsome a baby boy as anyone could wish for. "Close it," Buttercup said, and the doctors closed the door. The baby stood in the corner as far from her bed as he could. "Come here, darling," Buttercup said. "Why? Are you going to kill me too?" That's what the baby said? These are scary nightmares. "I'm your mother and I love you. Now come here. I've never killed anybody." "You killed Wesley. Did you see his face in the fire swamp? When you walked away and left him? That's what I call killing." Whoa, baby's standing on business right now. "When you're older, you'll understand things. Now I'm not going to tell you again. Come here." "Murderer," the baby shouted. "Murderer!" But by then she was out of bed. She had him in her arms and was saying, "Stop that, stop it this instant. I love you." And he said, "Your love is poison. It kills." And he died in her arms, and she started to cry. Even when she was awake again, with 58 days to go till her marriage, she was still crying. Maybe you shouldn't have left him in the fucking... Yeah, dude, I can't with this fucking chick. Having some dark dreams. It's like, oh yeah, maybe you're almost having like nightmares about it because you feel bad. Because you literally dissed the love of your life and just was like, "Peace. Hope he doesn't kill you. Bye." He said he had his word. He said his word. Haha. That doesn't mean anything, but bye. So fucking weird. Okay. Buttercup feeling guilty, ends up having nightmares. Yeah. It's like, girl, you should have... Can't go back in time. But she doesn't know still, though, that he's, like, trapped, basically. The next night, she simply refused to go to sleep. Instead, she walked and read and did needlework and drank cup after cup of steaming tea from the Indies. She felt sick with weariness, of course, but such was her fear of what she might dream that she preferred any walking discomfort to whatever sleep might have to offer. And at dawn, her mother was pregnant. No, more than pregnant. Her mother was having a baby. And as Buttercup stood there in the corner of the room, she watched herself being born, and her father gasped at her beauty, and so did her mother, and the midwife was first to show concern. The midwife was a sweet woman, known throughout the village for her love of babies, and she said, "Look, trouble." And the father said, What trouble? Where before did you ever see such beauty? And the midwife said, Don't you understand why she was given such beauty? It's because she has no heart. Here, listen. The baby is alive, but there is no beat. Jesus Christ. And she held Buttercup's chest against the father's ear, and the father could only nod and say, We must find a miracle man to place a heart inside. But the midwife said, That would be wrong, I think. I've heard before of creatures like this, the heartless ones. And as they grow bigger, they get more and more beautiful, and behind them is nothing but broke bodies and shattered souls. And these without hearts are ambush bringers, and my advice would be, since you're both still young, to have another child, a different child, and be rid of this one now, but, of course, the final decision is up to you. And the father said to the mother, Well? And the mother said, Since the midwife is the kindest person in the village, she must know a monster when she sees one. Let's get to it. Oh my god. This book is crazy! So Buttercup's father and Buttercup's mother put their hands to the baby's throat, and the baby began to gasp, even when Buttercup was awake again at dawn. With 57 days to go till her marriage, she could not stop gasping. Yeah, this is a lot. From then on, the nightmares became simply too frightening. When there were 50 days to go, Buttercup knocked, one night, on the door to Prince Humperdinck's chambers. She entered when he bid her to. I see trouble, he said. You look very ill. And so she did. Beautiful, of course, still that, but in no way well. Buttercup did not see quite how to begin. He ushered her into a chair. He got her water. She sipped at it, staring dead ahead. He put the glass to one side. At your convenience, princess, he said. It comes to this, Buttercup began. In the fire swamp, I made the worst mistake in all the world. I love Wesley. I always have. It seems I always will. I did not know this when you came to me. Please believe what I am about to say. When you said that I must marry you or face death, I answered, kill me. I meant that. I mean this now too. If you say I must marry you in 50 days, I will be dead by morning. The prince was literally stunned. After a long moment, he knelt by Buttercup's chair and, in his gentlest voice, started to speak. I admit that when we first became engaged, there was to be no love involved. That was as much my choice as yours, though the notion may have come from you. But surely you must have noticed in the last month of parties and festivities a certain warming of my attitude. I have. You have been both sweet and noble. Thank you. Having said that, I hope you appreciate how difficult this next sentence is for me to say. I would die myself rather than cause you unhappiness by standing in the way of your marrying the man you love. Whoa, that was not what I was expecting. Is this a dream? I don't trust like that. I don't trust anymore. Buttercup wanted to almost weep with gratitude. She said, I will bless you all my days for your kindness. Then she stood. So it's settled. Our wedding is off. He stood too, except for perhaps one thing. That being, have you considered the possibility that he might not want any longer to marry you? Until that moment, she had not. You were, I hate to remind you, not altogether gentle with his emotions in the fire swamp. Forgive me for saying that, beloved, but you did leave him in the lurch, in a matter of speaking. Buttercup sat down hard, her turn now to be stunned. Humperdinck knelt again beside her. This Wesley of yours, this sailor boy, he has pride. Buttercup managed to whisper, more than any man alive, I sometimes think. Well, consider then, dearest. Here he is, off sailing somewhere with the dread pirate Roberts. He has had a month to survive the emotional scars he dealt with. What if he now wants to remain single? Or worse, what if he's found another? Oh my god, he's so manipulative. This is terrible. Buttercup was now even beyond whispering. I think, sweetest child, that we should strike a bargain, you and I. If Wesley wants to marry you still, bless you both. If, for reasons unpleasant to mention, his pride will not let him, then he will marry me, as planned, and be the Queen of Florin. He couldn't be married, I'm sure, not my Wesley. She looked at the prince. But how can I find out? Well, about this. You write him a letter telling him everything. We'll make 4 copies. I'll take my 4 fastest ships and order them off in all directions. The dread pirate Roberts is not often more than a month's sail from Florin. Whichever of my ships finds him will run the white flag of truce. Deliver your letter, and Wesley can decide. If no, he can speak that message to my captain. If yes, my captain will sail him here to you, and I will have to content myself somehow with the lesser bride. Oh, he is a tricky little bitch. He knows that he's not out there sailing. He doesn't need a month to find him. Bro's like fucking locked in the dungeon right now. Ooh. Uh-oh. I'm not sure, but I definitely think that this is the most generous decision I have yet heard. Do me a favor then in return. Until we know Wesley's intentions, one way or another, let us continue as we have so the festivities will not be halted. And if I seem too fond of you, remember that I cannot help myself. Wow. Agreed, Buttercup said, going to the door, but not before she kissed his cheek. He followed her. Off with you now, and write your letter. And he returned the kiss, smiling with his eyes at her until the corridor curved from his sight. Curved her from his sight, okay. There was no doubt whatsoever in his mind that he was going to seem too fond of her in the days ahead, because when she died of murder on their wedding night, it was crucial that all Florin realized the depth of his love, the epochal size of his loss, since then no one would dare hesitate to follow him in the revenge war he was to launch against Skylder. Oh, shit! Oh no, dude. They're about to have a really bad time. Things are about to get really bad. Oh god. At first, when he hired the Sicilian. Bomb drop! He hired the Sicilian to kill her! Oh my god! He was convinced it was best that someone else do her in, all the while making it appear the work of soldiers from Gilder. And when the man in black had somehow materialized to spoil his plans, the prince came close to going insane with rage. But now his basically optimistic nature had reasserted itself. Everything always worked out for the best. The people were infatuated with Buttercup now, as they had never been before her kidnapping. And when he announced from his castle balcony that she had been murdered, he already saw the scene in his mind. He would arrive just too late to save her from strangling, but soon enough to see the Gildarian soldiers leaping from the window of his bedroom to the soft ground below. When he made that speech to the masses of the 500th anniversary of his country, well, there wouldn't be a dry eye in the square. Oh my god. And although he was just the least bit perturbed, since he had never actually killed a woman before with his bare hands, there was a first time for everything. Besides, if If you wanted something done right, you did it yourself. I think that's where we're going to call it for the day, because I don't want us to get too stuck. Wow, this took a huge turn. Holy shit. Wow, yeah. Things just took twists and turns through this whole chapter. Plot twist. Plot twist indeed, dude. I wasn't expecting it, honestly. But then when he started saying, well, here's what we can do, I went, oh, no. Oh, no. Well, I guess we're just going to have to find out on Monday. I will tell you guys, too, that next week's streams are probably going to be a little weird. Schedule is a little bit different next week for work, so I might end up having to do book club only on Monday, or doing book club before doing movie night and having an extra late movie night that night, just because they scheduled me for work. Or doing it on Wednesday. We'll see. So it might just be a little bit weirder next week than usual for our usual streams. But I will try to have that schedule out by Sunday so that you guys have everything you need. Next week we're doing After Dark, the Frozen Hearts edition. So if you guys are ready for some spooky, scary, love adjacent and love related things, that's going to be happening next week. And I'm actually going to be doing a double header. I'm going to do a comfy cozy stream in the morning, take a couple hours off, and then come back for After Dark in the evening on Thursday next week. So it'll be a week packed with fun. Sorry, I'm dying, I think. And tonight we are going to be watching 10 Things I Hate About You in just an hour on Discord. So if you want to join in for the fun and festivities that way, you can also find us there for the rest of the, well, not the rest of the night, but I'll try not to. God. Also, I just want to say too, we are up to 61 subscribers on YouTube, which is crazy. Shocking, honestly. So thank you guys so much for all of the love and for the subs. My last stream that I was trying to post, it didn't post properly, so I'm gonna be reposting it, the one from earlier this week. So just be patient. It should be there tonight as well as today's video on YouTube. So very soon. Thank you. All right. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Or if you aren't able to go to movie night, good night. We'll see you soon. Bye.